Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Matthew Dickerson, good morning.
Good morning, Rod. How are you going today?
I'm going well. You've been to the southern parts of New South Wales as part of the regional cities.
We have indeed. Regional Cities New South Wales is a group that's got 15 member cities, so it includes places like Dubbo and Orange and Bathurst that people would be familiar with, and a range of cities across the state. I'm actually the chairperson of that group, and we normally meet every 3 months at Parliament House, so we've got good access to Polly's. But last year we were talking about it at a meeting, and I said I wouldn't mind the idea of getting out to some of our member cities. It does take more time, of course, but it's worthwhile actually having a chat to some of those different cities and seeing how they do different things. So last year we went up to Lismore and Tweed Heads, looked at the devastation of their flooding up there, and it was actually quite a fascinating trip to learn about what they were doing. This year, just last week, we went to Wagga and Albury, and again looked at a range of things there. Probably the most interesting thing that we found there from the Albury perspective, and I know it doesn't sound that exciting, but their waste management facility. And one of the things that they do with their waste management is they've got a large volume, so they've really got scale on their side, but they do that by having 6 different local government areas feed their waste through to that one centre. So that means they can actually have greater scale and they can do things that you mightn't be able to do with less rubbish that comes through. So I looked at that and trying to always apply it back to our circumstances. And here we do take some processing from Mudgee and Narromine, but is there potential for us to expand it out further, because waste management and trying to keep as much out of landfill as possible is something really important for councils going forward. So picked up that there. Down in Wagga, it was interesting looking at their special activation precinct. So that's an area that's the state government's put $200 million into to try and create an industrial state that's going to be there for the next 3 or 4 decades, or really generate over the next 3 or 4 decades. So you always pick up little things, you always learn things, but it is good to have all those cities work together and try and progress regional areas in general.
And you also had a trial of in-ground parking sensors.
It's never exciting or popular when you start to talk about fining people for parking for too long. And this did cause a little bit of controversy and a bit of discussion at our standing committee meeting last week, because we've been running 2 separate trials. Trials for parking inspectors. So the old days of a parking officer marking a bit of chalk on your tyre and then coming back around a certain time later and seeing if it's still there, I think those days are gone. It's not the most efficient use of our staff. But what can we do to make it better? Well, we've tried 2 different things. The first thing, we took 150 car parking spots and we put an in-ground sensor in, literally buried in the ground. When a car parks over that, it knows there's a car parked over that. When the car leaves that spot, it triggers that car is now left. If it goes for longer than the allowed time frame for that particular area, our parking officers get an alert on a device they carry with them, so they know they can go straight to that area and they know someone's been parked there for too long. We actually find people using those sensors, using that methodology I've just described there. From the period from August 2022 to the 1st of February 2024, we ran that trial. 1,852 parking notices or infringements were handed out during that time frame. The other trial we did, and I love this one, I actually went for a drive with the people doing this particular one. We had a car that would drive along, and essentially what it does is takes photos of number plates and time date stamps them. And so the car drives along and then it keeps doing loops around the CBD, and if it takes a photo of the same number plate in the same parking spot and it's been there for longer than the time frame allowed, then again the notification comes up on the screen in the car and the parking officer can stop and actually find that particular person. Now, they scanned 157,191 vehicles during that time frame, and it was a much shorter time frame we had for this particular trial. 2,413 time violations were detected in those 157,191 vehicles. Now, we didn't find those ones. This, again, was a trial to test the technology to see what we do. Again, some councillors weren't happy about this because they said you're unpopular when you fine people. And I agree, no one loves to get a fine, but at the same time, businesses in our CBD are saying they need good turnover of vehicles to be able to make their businesses viable, to be able to have enough customers to be able to come through their business. So we'll come back to the public before we expand into those trials. The bottom line is, Rod, as long as you look at the signs in those areas and stick to the parking allowances, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever it might be, if you stick to those, you're not going to have a problem. If you don't, then we're working out the most efficient methods to be able to pick up people that are parking for too long.
Yep, all very good. And staff is a big issue because staff and people who own the businesses sometimes like to park out the front of their own business or not too far away.
Funnily enough, you should say that. I did actually have a complaint about the in-ground parking sensors. One person was very unhappy because they'd been fined a few times, but they were the owner of a business. They were parking out the front of that business and they thought they should have been allowed to park there for as long as they like. So it wasn't popular with that person, but again, they were going outside the regulations.
Yes, I know of one business where they would park out the front of their opposition. So
well, hopefully they get picked up for doing that as well.
Saxa Road Bridge, what's going on?
Well, we've awarded the tender. So this is the Coomabella Causeway on Saxa Road, and there's been a fair bit of discussion around that during the flooding events in 2022. That causeway is damaged extensively. It got to the stage where light vehicles only could go on it, and it was even then a bit of a struggle for light vehicles. We've been working away doing what we can with that and giving some temporary access there, but it really needed a bridge there. Now, we're still talking to the government about getting funding for the bridge, but we just need to move ahead with it. We need to fix that up. A lot of regional traffic goes along that particular road as well as locals around that area. But we awarded, at the committee meetings last week, we awarded the tender to an organisation called Bridge and Marine Engineering, $1.7 million for the bridge. There's other works that we'll do around the approaches to that, but it'll probably end up being a $3 million project overall, but at least that started now, and that's something that we think will probably take till about April next year before that's finished.
All right, and Dream Fest, looking to go ahead?
Well, we would love to see it go ahead. The problem we have at the moment is that it was given to council staff to run, and I don't think our staff are set up to run events, not enough of them, and that's not really their core focus. And the other part, of course, was the expense of that. So we have typically given $40,000 to Dream to run that. We wanted to really analyse that to see what it was bringing in from outside of Dubbo, how many visitors was it bringing to Dubbo, was it just a great community event where lots of our community came out and were a part of it, or were we bringing people to Dubbo? In the end, the recommendation from the committees, which will go through to the council meeting on the 21st of March, was for an expression of interest process to be started where we would invite expressions of interest from community groups, community organisations, someone who would like to run that event rather than council staff run that, and then they could apply for up to $40,000 of funding with some justification to be able to run that event. So hopefully that will go on. That's been going since 2011, a couple of missed years with COVID, but essentially it'd be great to see that go on, but we just don't think that council staff should be running it.
Yeah, and if it gets someone to run it for you and they can get sponsorship, it could be a win-win-win.
Absolutely right. And they have had success in getting sponsorship in the past, so hopefully they'll be able to do that again in the future.
Well, you'd think there should be some bed company out there that would get on board. Now, there's some sporting events happening around.
Absolutely right. It's actually quite busy. We've got the regional qualifiers for the Women's New South Wales Open. So that golf's being played, Pro-Am being played there yesterday and today, and then the tournament itself will be played tomorrow. So that'll be fantastic. I'll go out there and get to blow I was going to say shotgun start, but you don't have a shotgun at the start anymore. That's probably old school. Blow the siren to start the event off tomorrow. And the other big one is Bowls New South Wales typically hold their state championships and have done for a long time, in fact forever, have been held in a metro location. For the first time ever, they're taking them to a regional location, and they chose Dubbo as the place to take them to. So tomorrow morning there'll be the launch of that. I'll be at that as well. And so that'll be a tournament that starts tomorrow and goes to the 27th of March. Huge tournament and a huge chance for Dubbo to show off what it can do with a large event like this.
Thank you for your time today.
Always my pleasure, Rod. Thank you.
Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.